Hey, this is Esoteric the Red, and I wanted this one to, I wanted this one to be about suffering and seeking God, and how I think these two things kind of tie together, right? So I was reading a paper by Bertrand Russel, and he's a mathematician. He was very analytical. You know how analytical people are. See things very mechanical. Not a lot of emotion to how they see the world and things like that. But he had this experience where he saw a woman who was in intense pain, and she was very, very alone. And upon seeing that suffering and her loneliness, he like it really spoke to him. It spoke to who he was, not who he was, but it spoke to more or less his empathy, and it kind of awakened this massive well of empathy within him. And he mentions that it kind of pushed him towards finding an almost Buddha-like way to help alleviate the suffering in the world. And if you know the Buddha's story, you know that he was someone who was shielded from the world his whole life. And then when he finally enters the world, he sees old people, poor people, starving people, diseased people. And he's so overwhelmed by this, he sets off on this journey to find a path that ends it. And these two stories from Buddha and Bertrand really speak to me, because I had a similar experience at work where, I'd complain to myself, like, oh my God, all anyone does around me is complain. Complaining to myself that all everyone around me does is bitch and moan. And it hit me, like a ton of bricks, that holy shit, we are all suffering. Like, we can't stand it here. I looked at one worker who had medical bills, and I was like, my God, they have massive medical bills. And I looked at another worker who was in debt, and I was like, holy shit, he's suffering. And I looked at another friend at work, and I was like, my God, he has all these family troubles. And even people that didn't have those troubles, I was like, they're in forced servitude for their basic needs. And I looked at other people, and I was like, my God, there's a drug addict. And it really just kind of like opened me up too, like in a similar way to the Buddha and Bertrand, this realization that everyone around me, including me, is in this state of suffering. And it really changed my view of their complaints and lessened my complaining. And it inspired me to just be as compassionate as I could in this environment. And I realized I couldn't exactly be like the Buddha or I don't know how Bertrand, ended up living the rest of his life. But I was in a factory, a very, very hard environment. If you've ever worked in a factory or a manufacturing setting, then you know how funny it would be to see a Buddha walking around in it. But eventually, I had to realize that, these other people there, they haven't had that experience, and they would quickly take advantage of you just to ease the very suffering that that they're in. And I had to update how I approach people when it came to being taken advantage of, because, it's very easy to overextend your hand. People will see you as weak. And so, more or less, I became someone that I approached every single person with that understanding and compassion. But if they tried to take advantage of me, I made sure to shut that shit down. And that's kind of how I approach pretty much everyone in life now. I don't think off the top of my head that you're out to get me, or that you're a bad person, or that you're gonna take advantage of me. But I definitely, as a result of being in that environment, know that if you see my humility and see weakness and try to take advantage of it, then I'm gonna have to shut that down. And as soon as I do, I go back to being, passive and loving. But it's almost like, it speaks softly, carry a big stick type of thing. Anyways, I realized too that there's another side of this perception. There's a chance Bertrand could have seen that woman and thought, where's God in all this? Or Buddha could have went out and seen all those suffering people and been like, my God, unbelievable. Why would a creator let this happen? Or, I could have looked around at the factory and been like, Jesus Christ, how could anybody believe in God when everyone around me is literally in hell? And so I just want you to know that even if you don't take a Buddha-like approach or a Bertrand approach, that if you were to see all that suffering and ask yourself these things about God, well, the true answer is that God more or less is waiting on you. If you're someone that has a mystical experience with God, then you have no idea how lucky you are, because God does not typically go out of his way to reveal his existence. And so there's a Bible verse, Jeremiah 29:13. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. And that's true. So you don't seek God with algorithms and science. You need to genuinely stretch your heart toward him, and then you can find him. It's not as simple as like a prayer or belief. You can believe in God and never find God. You can pray to God and never have it answered. He's really not in the business of being a genie. You need to actively be seeking him with a genuine heart, and it's only a genuine heart that would find him or have his existence revealed to you. So, tying that back to the beginning, I think that if you are able to empathize with the people around you, or see their suffering or the loneliness in their heart, it can kind of kickstart, that process of seeking out God, and you won't be disappointed if you seek God with a genuine heart, rather than looking at the material world or creating an AI to seek out the secrets of the world. It all happens within yourself, happens within your heart, and then you can have a direct relationship with him, a personal relationship with you and God. A lot of people point to all the different beliefs out there, and they're like, well, I don't know what to believe. There's Hinduism, there's Buddhism, there's Christianity. Just seek God with all your heart, and maybe one of those beliefs will speak to you. But first and foremost, I would seek God with my heart.